Silence holds a breath. Then a gun cracks and the mansion trembles. The floor glows with low tungsten light. A body falls and the phone buzzes on marble. Alex Marino said, "This was not the plan." The message on the screen reads, "It's done. The king is dead." The chandeliers flicker like nervous eyes. Rain taps the glass while guards rush in different directions. Alex tastes metal and fear and thinks about the last promise made. He wants control or a clean exit, but both feel like traps. Footsteps echo. A second phone vibrates in a hidden pocket. Elena Marino said, "Walk away now." The light shifts, shadows stretch, and a door opens behind Alex. He turns, ready to run or rule, and a red laser dot crawls across the wall. The rain becomes a drum and the house keeps time. Alex wipes the phone and feels the floor tilt. He wants a way out, but every exit smells like a trap. He hears Marcus in the hall and pictures shackles dressed as loyalty. Alex said, "If I move now, I own the mess." The lights buzz and the chandeliers hum like bees. He remembers a promise made to Lily. A quiet life far from this glow. The message burns in his pocket like a hot coin. Elena told him to walk away, but her voice hides blades. A shadow slides across the doorway, and the laser dot vanishes. He wonders who else read that message, and how many rifles are listening. Sophia appears in the side room like a whisper. She keeps her hands visible and her eyes calm. She said, "You wanted leverage. Now you have a corpse." Alex tastes copper in the air and thinks of the vaults beneath the city. The empire is a maze of names and keys and debts. He asks who fired the shot and why the text was sent now. Sophia smiles without joy and says, "Timing is a weapon." A clock ticks too loud for truth. The windows shake, and the power dips to a dim brown. Alex knows choice is a door that locks behind him. The door is already closing. Marcus fills the hall and the air grows colder. He said, "No one leaves until we clean this." His voice is calm, like a lid on boiling water. Alex watches his gloves and the easy way they speak of violence. A gust rattles the doors, and the curtains breathe in and out. Marcus names a room and a time and a list of people to find. He steps closer, and the chandelier shakes. Alex says he wants answers, not orders. Marcus smiles like a scar and nods once. Something scrapes the terrace, and a red blink shows life in the garden. Elena waits at the staircase with eyes like glass. She said, "You can end this tonight if you stop asking why." Her coat is dry and her phone is silent now. Alex feels the word legacy slide between them like a knife. He asks who benefits if he stays and who starves if he leaves. She says the city eats those who stand still. The thunder rolls and the chandeliers thrum. Somewhere a radio coughs and then dies. Alex steps up one stair and the house breathes with him. He wonders if the king is dead or if the crown just learned a new head. Sirens bloom outside and the mansion exhales panic. Doors slam like drums and rain hammers the stone. Alex feels heat in his chest and the world leans. He runs past portraits that watch like judges. Sophia said, "They're moving on the tunnels now." Her voice is steady, but her hands betray a tremor. Marcus steps from a shadow and blocks the corridor. He said, "You don't pass without me." Alex hears the hiss of radios and the scrape of metal. Fear tries to hold his feet, but anger shoves him forward. He catches a glint under a stair tread, a wet key taped there and waiting. The tunnels breathe a cold, damp calm. Water ticks from pipes like a metronome for fear. Alex tastes copper and dust and steadies his hands. Sophia lights a small beam and cuts the dark into ribbons. She said, "You're shaking?" He said, "I'm choosing." She laughs once and it hurts. Their footsteps slow, and the echo grows kind. A faded stencil marks an old exit and a chalk arrow points west. Sophia pockets a torn photograph she will not discuss. The air warms and hope pretends to be real for 1 minute. A generator farm hums like a beast that owns the block. Outside the grate, black SUVs idle with patient breath. Marcus said, "You feel that order out there? That is Victor's ghost." The name lands heavy and the shadows tighten. A drone whirs past and lingers over the vent. Alex said, "They don't chase. They herd." Control sits in the air like a hand on a throat. Sophia whispers a number like a prayer, and the drone tilts away. Tires crunch and a gate lifts without haste. Power smiles when it does not need to run. They reach an old chapel that smells like ash and rain. Candles lean as if tired of burning. Father Bennett waits with a coat draped over iron shoulders. He said, "Truth makes poor armor, but it is not nothing." Alex feels smaller under stained glass and time. Sophia studies the exits and the silence between words. Bennett names debts that Alex owes and wounds he drags behind. He said, "Your anger is a leash they hold. The bell rope sways though no wind moves. Wisdom lands soft and still cuts deep." The first light crawls over rooftops like a slow fuse. Alex sets the wet key on the pew and breathes once. He said, "We end the hurting. We choose the route." Sophia nods and ties back her hair with a strip of gauze. Footsteps outside test the steps and then stop. Bennett said, "Mercy is also a blade. Use it with care." Alex pockets the key and the torn map they marked. He feels the cost rise and decides to pay it. Doors open to the street, and the rain begins again. The city waits, and somewhere a gate starts to lift. A safe flat above a bakery smells like sugar and lies. Steam fogs the window and the city murmurs below. For a moment quiet pretends to be true. Elena arrives with dry hair and a careful smile. She said, "You needed distance. I brought it." Alex feels warmth that does not reach bone. Sophia watches the street with a mirror. The kettle clicks and clocks restart. Elena sets a small black case on the table and does not open it. Calm spreads, thin as paper over fire. They speak like people building a bridge from smoke. Elena said, "There are accounts you can move if you trust me." Alex keeps his hands on the table to stop the shake. Sophia asks for names and dates and smiles without joy. The bakery below laughs and clatters and makes the room feel less doomed. Elena reaches but does not touch. She said, "You do not have to carry this alone." Alex believes her for half a breath and hates that he does. The kettle hisses, as if warning. The black case waits like a quiet dog. Marcus arrives with a knock that sounds like a verdict. He fills the doorway and the light bends. He said, "You're trading one leash for another." Alex answers too fast and hears it. Marcus speaks of order and streets that eat the weak, he said. "You want mercy to work like math. It doesn't." Their words lift and clash like blades in slow motion. Alex sees his own hunger in the man he hates. Silence peels the paint a little. Outside, a siren decides not to stop here. Elena opens the case and the room tilts. Inside lies a tracker that matches the vent drone's song. Sophia said, "You marked us." Elena does not flinch. She said, "I marked a future." Alex feels the floor go thin and his throat close. Marcus does not reach for a gun, and that is worse. The window explodes inward as a line snaps from roof to sill. A hook bites the table and drags the case. The rope burns, and the truth goes with it. Dust hangs like a breath that cannot decide. Sophia binds a cut with cloth and refuses help. Alex stares at the empty window and hears the drone's fading whine. He said, "She fed us to someone patient." Marcus looks at the door and not at Alex. He said, Pick a side that can live with you. The street outside moves on like a tired giant. Alex gathers the scattered map pieces and finds a mark he did not make. The mark points to an estate that should not exist. The day hardens, and he chooses the road that hurt. Morning hush settles over the ruined flat. Dust floats like slow snowfall. The kettle is silent now and the window is boarded. Alex sits with the torn map and the black case memory. He feels the cut of last night under the skin. Sophia said, "We missed something simple." Her voice is thin, but steady. He lays photos edge to edge and hears only his breath. Footsteps outside fade, then fade again. Light crawls across the table and lands on a watermark. He tilts the paper, and the mark becomes a crest he saw in the yard. He whispers to air, not to her. It was never about Victor. The room answers with the tick of a cheap clock. Calm becomes clarity, and clarity hurts. A name waits inside the crest like a locked door. The lock begins to turn. The crest drags him back by smell and sound. Coffee and cologne from a gala years ago. Strings played and crystals sang under laughter. Victor toasted a future no one wrote. Elena brushed past and slipped a card into his palm. He had smiled because the room demanded it. The card held the same crest in gold. Sophia said, "Stay with me," and the present fused to the past. He hears the same low drone from the vent in memory. A man at the balcony spoke softly into a cuff. Alex remembers that he was told to look at the fireworks. He looked, and a ledger moved hands behind smoke. The scent of gardenias returns, sweet and wrong. The card was not a gift, it was a leash. They meet Father Bennett in the chapel again. Rain whispers on the roof like a secret. Alex stands close and counts heartbeats. Bennett said, "You came to bury a man and found a mask." Silence sits between them and grows tall. Sophia watches the door and measures the dark. Alex said, "Who owns the crest?" His voice is low, almost kind. Bennett does not answer fast. He breathes. Then he names a consortium older than their wars. He said, "They rent kings and collect grief." The words land like nails. Alex feels his anger change shape. A life can pivot inside one slow breath. Victor sits in a private ward under soft lights and machines. He does not look surprised to see them. He said legacy is a game board, not a story. His voice is calm and cruel. Alex asks if the crown was ever real. Victor smiles with tired teeth. He says the crest buys silence and sells fate. He says Elena loved the board more than the pieces. Sophia said, "You signed the city away." He shrugs as if weather changed. He calls himself a caretaker, not a thief. The room smells like antiseptic and old smoke. Alex sees that good and evil share the same suit. Truth arrives like rain that will not stop. Alex feels anger leave, and something harder form. He sees the strings that pulled him and the hands that tied them. He said, "So this was the truth all along." The words taste like iron and ash. Sophia takes his shoulder and does not speak. The chapel bell from memory rings inside his chest. He chooses to act with eyes open now. Pain does not leave, but it steps aside. He draws a map of moves that cut the board itself. The room seems brighter, though clouds hold. He breathes once, and the breath feels earned. The estate waits beyond tall iron and wet hedges. Air holds quiet like a stretched wire. Footsteps count a slow march on gravel. Lights flicker along the path and stabilize. Sophia said, "Signals are live." Her breath fogs and fades. Alex feels the key in his pocket and the weight of choice. He hears his pulse in his ears and in the dark. Windows ahead burn with a soft amber threat. He stops at the door and the knight leans in. Inside, a choir of machines hums for no one. The handle is cool. The hinge sighs. The line is drawn. They enter a gallery of faces who never had names. Screens show maps and ledger flows. Elena steps from shadow like a verdict. She said you wanted the board. Here it is. Alex answers with silence first. Sophia names the nodes she can burn. Elena speaks of order and clean streets and useful fear. She says the city keeps living when someone feeds it. Alex said, "You call that life?" She smiles as if pity hurt less. The room narrows to breath and purpose. No one steps back. Movement at the hall breaks the standoff. Marcus arrives with rain on his coat and a torn look. He said, "Walk away, both of you." His voice shakes once and goes hard. A red dot slides across Sophia's chest. Marcus pivots and takes the shot that was hers. The blast eats the air and throws him back. Silence collapses around his breath. Alex kneels and hears only the slow clock inside his ribs. Marcus said, "Do something I couldn't." The words fade like smoke. Cost writes itself in fresh ink. Rage stands up, but something steadier holds it. Alex moves with clean lines now. He said, "End it with light." Sophia triggers the dump across the grid. Files open like wounds on every screen. Elena lunges for a kill switch and meets his stare. She said, "You will break the city." He said it was already broken. Thunder rolls and a breaker pops. Sparks stitch the dark and alarms begin to pray. He steps between her and the board. He chooses exposure over blood. The choice cuts deep and true. The echo fades and the house breathes again. Sirens grow like distant surf. Marcus lies still, and the floor keeps his last heat. Sophia closes his eyes and stands without a word. Alex hears rain soften on stone. He feels lighter and heavier in the same breath. He said, "No more kings." The screens dim to ash and reflection. Outside, gates unlock with a tired groan. He walks into the wet night with purpose that hurts. An era ends without applause. Dawn cools the estate until breath looks like smoke and then fades. The alarms died hours ago, and the house remembers how to be quiet. Alex sits on the wet steps, palms open to the gray. The screens inside are dark mirrors that do not forgive. Sophia stands near the gate, counting sirens that never arrive. Wind combs puddles into small rings, then lets them rest. He thinks of the ledger lights going out like tired stars. He said, "No more kings," and the words still hang in the mist. The garden smells of metal and cut earth. He knows what the night took and what it left. The silence names the loss. The city wakes like a tired animal and keeps its distance. Alex walks the empty corridor and hears old nights in the hum. He sees Marcus turning away from a gun that was meant for her. He sees himself frozen, then moving too late. Sophia whispers he chose, and the air thins. Guilt moves through him like slow tide, refusing to leave. Relief tries the door and waits on the mat. He touches the wall and feels a tremor that is his pulse. The house offers no answer, only dust and a fading beep. A sparrow lands on the sill and shakes off water. Life takes the room back, different than before. They cover Marcus with a coat that once kept storms off him. Time slows until the clock sounds like it speaks. Sophia kneels and ties the cloth neat, as if that could hold him. She said, "You stopped the board," and the words carry both blame and thanks. Alex answers with a nod that hurts. In the glass, his face looks older and strange. He says, "He drew the line for us," and the line feels sharp. The room holds their breath long enough to count the cost. A thin sun finds the corner where his ring lost its shine. Forgiveness arrives, small and real, and chooses to stay. In the chapel, Father Bennett's recorder clicks once and then plays. His voice fills the nave like a song written for rain. He speaks of debts paid and roads that refuse to end. He says, mercy is not weakness, it is direction. Alex sits where the candle gutters and listens until it hurts less. Sophia traces a crack in the pew like a map. The past folds into the present with a soft seam. The bell does not ring, but something inside does. He smiles without showing teeth and lets one tear fall. The lesson lands where it needs to. By noon, the estate is only a house again. Alex stands at the gate with the key that opened last night. He sets it on the stone and steps back. Sophia asks, ready? He answers with calm that feels earned. The choice is not about thrones now, only light. He turns and walks toward the road that leads down to the city. The trees sway like slow applause, and then go still. He says, we tell it all, and the world seems to agree. The day holds steady, and the next move is clear. Afternoon light drifts through a small kitchen above a street that has learned to breathe. The kettle sighs, and the city answers with a low hum. Alex writes names on a page that will travel. Sophia watches the window and the clouds that do not hurry. He thinks of nights spent counting exits and debts. He thinks of hands that did not let go. She says, we finish what we started, and the words are quiet enough to keep. Silence folds around them like a clean sheet. He looks at the list and knows who will hate him. The pen does not shake. The question waits in the space between breaths. They walk to a public drop where pigeons rule the rail. The drive fits the slot with a click that feels final. Alex said, no more shadows, and the words leave like birds. Sophia lets a folded photo go into the river wind. The city smells of bread and rain and long stories. Their footsteps match and then drift apart. The message moves into wires and faces and rooms they will never see. He feels weight lift and shift, not vanish. The river keeps its pace and teaches them. They turn once and do not turn again. A voicemail waits, recorded before storms chose their path. Father Bennett's voice is steady and kind. He says, if you hear this, you stood where you were meant to. The words carry the dust of old rooms and open doors. Alex closes his eyes and lets them settle. Sophia leans her head to the wall and listens with him. He hears the theme of all their hours. Tell the truth and take the cost. The message ends without goodbye. The silence that follows feels like a hand on a shoulder. The lesson becomes a promise. Days pass, and the city finds a new rhythm. Trucks arrive at dawn and leave by noon. Markets open, close, and open again. Names appear on screens and then in courtrooms. Some doors lock, some swing wider. Alex and Sophia move through it like people who know where not to stand. They say little and learn more. A baker thanks them without knowing why. A child laughs at rain, and it sounds like repair. The world does not cheer, but it continues with grace. Change is quieter than fear imagined. Night returns and brings a clean horizon. Alex stands on a rooftop and lets the wind choose its path. Sophia joins him and sets a phone between them. It rings once and then again, as if the story wants a sequel. He said, we answer only to the light. She nods and the ring fades like tide. The city glows without asking for a crown. He breathes, and it feels like the first breath after water. The line they drew holds. Truth does not bow tonight. It only stands and waits.